So, MAGA loyalist Kash Patel is now in charge of the FBI, and he's making his first moves to reshape that agency. Patel is ordering 1,000 FBI agents to be redeployed from D.C. to field offices around the country. Another 500 FBI employees will move from Washington to an FBI campus in Huntsville, Alabama. Why? Who knows? After a narrow confirmation vote in the Senate, Patel took his oath of office yesterday and had this little ditty to share for the media.
I know the media's in here, and if you have a target, that target's right here. It's not the men and women at the FBI. You've written everything you possibly can about me that's fake, malicious, slanderous, and defamatory. Keep it coming. Bring it on.
Okay. Joining the conversation, MSNBC senior national security analyst and former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI, Frank Figliuzzi, is here with us. He's the author of The FBI Way, Inside the Bureau's Code of Excellence. And back with us is our friend, former CIA director John Brennan.
In defense of the media, I would just like to note that I think all people did was report on what Kash Patel has said. And he did a lot of, and done. He had a lot of podcast interviews. He talked about an enemies list. And so, Mr. Director, I just would encourage you to check your own receipts, because perhaps that'll help you understand what's going on. Frank Figliuzzi, what are the FBI agents, what are they saying? How do they feel? Because yesterday we had at that little presser after he was sworn in, there were many media reports. I heard it on television, not on our network, but on others, and I read in the papers that Kash Patel was moderating his tone. He was striking a different tone with the FBI agents now that he is the director. And it didn't sound moderated to me, but I was just a comms person, so I would like to know from the expert.
You know, I think for way too long we've hoped for the best, that people will rise to their position and everything will be fine. I'm way beyond that. If somebody has told us who he is, has said he does have a blacklist and enemies list, has said he thinks FBI agents are cops and should be emptied out of headquarters and working murders and rapes, which, by the way, in and of themselves are not federal violations. If he's going to tell 1,000 agents, which happened yesterday, you're getting out of this building, and they go home and say to their families, I don't know where, I don't know when, I don't know why. He's doing what he said he would do, dramatic moves that harm national security. And the real concern I have here, we've seen horrible abuses by the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, right? Illegal wiretaps, planting of evidence, microphones in Martin Luther King's rooms, you name it, we saw it, unchecked. That could happen again, and it could be even worse with someone whose allegiance is to a president. So if, for example, Patel gets briefed next week, sir, we have a successful undercover operation against a Republican governor in this state. We're coming to a conclusion with it. Just wanted you to know. Do you think he's going to keep that from Pam Bondi? He's going to keep it, more importantly, from Donald Trump? And do you think Donald Trump's going to say, oh, excellent, go arrest my friend, the corrupt Republican governor? That's what I'm concerned about.
Director Brennan, I want to sort of pick up on the spirit of Simone's question earlier, which was what is even happening? My question here is, are we safer or less safe than we were before Kash Patel took over the FBI?
Well, I'm very concerned about the dislocations within the Bureau that Frank was mentioning. When I was director of CIA, we partnered very, very closely with the FBI on so many matters, including on the counterintelligence front. And what I'm concerned is right now, with all of these individuals that Musk and Doge have sent into our government institutions and having access to those systems and networks and databases, this is something that is ripe for exploitation by the Russians and the Chinese in terms of intelligence. These are individuals who haven't been vetted, they don't have the security clearances or background, and so they're now accessing all this information that involves U.S. citizens, sensitive U.S. databases, and other things. And if the Bureau is going through these dislocations, its mission is being disrupted. And like Frank, I am very concerned about the politicization of the leadership of the Bureau. Kash Patel, I'm on Kash Patel's enemy list in his book. And so between Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and others, others, is the Bureau, is the Department of Justice going to uphold its tradition of making sure that they carry out their responsibilities with integrity and in an apolitical fashion? And I think there are serious questions, including among the people within DOJ and FBI right now, about whether or not their leadership is going to bring them down this very dark place where it's unprecedented in American history.
Frank, I thought, I mean, it's certainly in light of your last answer and in terms of how this plays out in the Bureau. It was an interesting Rolling Stone story. Headline: critics worry Kash Patel will purge the FBI. Would he even need to? Noting the uncomfortable truth here is that Patel wouldn't have to purge that many people, says Mike German, a former FBI agent and current senior fellow with the Brennan Center. I think an unnervingly large percentage of the agency will be sympathetic to what Patel wants to do, and I think they'd be pretty open about that. To your example about the investigative power shifting and being used in a negative way, this seems to indicate that there would be agents who, when instructed to go investigate Simone, me, or someone else, they'd be like, all right, with no legal basis to do it, with no underlying violation of criminal statute or law, just on the order of Kash Patel, at the direction maybe of Donald Trump, but maybe to curry additional favor with Donald Trump, to selectively go out and grab folks and start these harebrained investigations. And there are agents within the building who will be like, yeah, let's do more of that.
There's no question the FBI is not a monolith. Generally, FBI gun and badge carrying agents tend to be conservative. It's what the job really is. Mm-hmm. But I have to tell you, I think we're only talking about a small handful that would be willing to violate their oath to protect, preserve, defend the Constitution. They're highly trained. Now, over time, with pressure, remember, Trump is replacing every single U.S. attorney. Right. Yeah. So if you're going to have a Trump loyalist as U.S. attorney, and you're going to have a Trump loyalist as AG and FBI director, it is quite likely that cases are going to come down to a field office. Right. Yep. And there's going to be tremendous pressure to open a case that may or may not have proper predication. And in a weak moment, as the pressure continues over time, are we going to see those cases opened? I'm afraid so. I'm also concerned that we're going to see cases closed. We are already seeing cases closed that should remain open. Yes. So we've got both of these issues going on. This is going to be a real test for the FBI staff.
There's a Wired article from Wednesday in Wired magazine, and the headline is DOJ now has access to the top U.S. cybersecurity agency. It reads, it's not clear what level of access Edward Korstein, a 19-year-old engineer working for DOJ, might have to data and networks at the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, but the agency stores a lot of sensitive and critical security information on its networks. This includes information about software vulnerabilities, breaches, and network risk assessments conducted for local and state election offices. Why would DOJ staff need access to the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency?
They don't. That's why this is a nightmare. This is why this is such a concern in terms of having individuals who have no background or experience and, again, have not been vetted. How can a 19-year-old be vetted from a security standpoint? And this is why I think our adversaries, our foreign adversaries, who really want to gain access to these systems in order to disable or to understand what they could do to make them, not function the way they're supposed to. But all the data of U.S. citizens are going to be in there, whether or not you're talking about in IRS or other databases across the board. So I don't believe DOJ needs that, but, it's hard to see the logic or the common sense behind any of the things that Elon Musk and DOJ are doing, and also they're misrepresenting the facts when they go out there and they talk about fraud and abuse. There's nothing that really undergirds their claims about this that justifies their continued work.
Frank Figliuzzi, you've got about 30 seconds left. You got a purge at DOD. You got a purge at the FBI. Who's the young American who decides that they now want to be a part of America's defense force, America's intelligence gathering operations? How much harder does this make recruitment?
It's really tough to get the right people right now. First, there is a hiring freeze, and we're hearing that one new agents class at the Academy in Quantico has been turned around. As best we can tell, the two that were there when Trump took over were allowed to continue through the Academy, but that's it. So the whole recruitment thing is going to change, and the vetting process, I'm concerned, is going to change. Let's not forget, we've got an FBI director right now who would not pass muster in a background investigation. He simply would not get a security clearance. If he applies his life and how he's conducted himself to a new background investigation model, then we're going to have new agents eventually who look a lot like Patel's mindset and not like constitutional loyalists.
They're going to be asked straight up, do they have loyalty to Donald Trump?
Straight out of Project 2025.
That's straight out of Project 2025, folks. We told you about that, but, you know, I digress.
Frank Figliuzzi, John Brennan, thank you both so much for being with us.